interest and excitement about the natural language processing is quite involved with the Persian language. Last year, I had the opportunity to publish my book, which was on exactly the Persian computational linguistics and natural language processing. It was a cooperation with a great number of highly academic and distinctive experts on Persian NLP. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the challenges Persian faces when we want to process it in a natural language pipeline. But before we start with the topic, during our last lecture, I'm not sure if Amin from last lecture is present in the call today, but during the last lecture, some of you may remember there was a little bit heated discussion about stemming versus lemmatization. So what you can see here is the two slides I put for the last presentation, which explained these two different processes in normalizing of text when we prepare it for the processing. So stemming was described as the process of eliminating all possible affixes, okay, from a word in order to obtain the word stem. And lemmatization is a very similar process, but here actually we are removing the inflectional endings and we are returning the canonical form of a word. In other words, lemma. So I had a discussion with Amin because he didn't really agree with the definition I presented here and the examples. So we agreed that I will double check it and clarify today in the second lecture. And well, I checked all possible sources. Here you can see some of the references from Stanford NLP and IBM, and I will stick to the definition that was presented there. So stemming is when you are actually reducing the word or the token to a stem, and lemmatization when we are retrieving the canonical form. I don't think Amin is here, so then I will just send him an email about it. Mm-hmm. Of course. Thank you very much, Armita. Okay, so without further ado, then let's move to the fascinating topic of today's lecture. So we've gone through the brief introduction, and we have two main subtopics to discuss today. So we are going to focus on two different challenges. Okay, the first one is the Persian language itself. Okay, so we are going to discuss the different features of the Persian language that may make its processing in natural language processing pipeline challenging or difficult. Okay, therefore we are going to talk about the importance of normalizing Persian texts. And as an example, we'll take a look at an experiment I did a few years ago that shows how important is normalization on one of the downstream NLP processing tasks. In this way, we will focus on multi-word expression discovery task. And then we will take a look at the second challenge, which is lack of resources. So as you might know, Persian is still thought as a low resource language, although in the recent years there's been really huge advancement in this field. Persian is still classified as low resource language. And what I would like to show you is how you can very quickly, very easily and effortlessly generate training data for the Persian language for different NLP tasks using large language models. So this is the plan, the agenda for today. And now let me move through the first part. So the first part, the first challenge, Persian language itself. Okay, and I would like to acknowledge here that the majority of the information regarding this very first part, so the challenges of the Persian language, are coming from the resources listed here. Okay, we have 4 different resources. These are the main resources I was using. Generally, the references for that lecture consist of more or less 20 pages. I didn't put it in the presentation. So if some of you are interested, just please send me an email, or I will share it with either Megzat or Armita, and then you can access all the references as well. Okay. Okay, so one of the first problems in processing Persian text, it's the existence of different character encodings. So when we create digital text, different encodings can be used. Okay, in this case, people or users are using either the Persian encoding characters or the Arabic ones. Okay, as an example, for the letter ye, okay, as we can see here in the slide, people can use 3 different encodings, either the Persian one, okay, or 2 different Arabic encodings. In that sense, we have the example here, okay, with the transliteration, that's the word village. And we can see that when we actually try to encode the separate letters, the final letter can be encoded, in this case, in 3 different ways. Persian writing system poses a number of challenges for NLP. Okay, first of all, letters in Persian can have joiner and non-joiner forms based on the position they take in a word. Although this feature is quite common among different languages, in Persian, certain letters, when they are written at the end of the word, may not be joined. Certain users or some users may treat them as separate characters and not use a white space, which is of course the delimiter for space and phrases after that particular word. As a result, tokenization may not always be reliable. The second challenge coming from the writing system is the existence of borrowed elements or foreign elements in Persian language. And I mean, the existence of them actually is not a problem, but the way how they are written, okay? The fact that, for instance, there are 4 possible forms for the letter Z, okay, can pose certain difficulties for the users. And although there are certain trends and attempts to regulate and systemize this issue, there's still great arbitrariness when it comes to the actual use. As an example, you can consider the foreign word. I believe it's from French, bulldozer, right, in Persian. So as we can see, it can be written in 4 different ways, just focusing on one letter Z, okay? This might be problematic, of course, for for lemmatization, right? And then also for sentiment analysis, because it is important actually to match the meaning of a particular word to the form. In Persian, we do not have capital letters, okay, which may cause ambiguity for named entity recognition, as well as the identification of acronyms, okay. Very simple example we can see here. We have this character, this string, this token, okay. And depending actually on how we read it, okay, it may mean different things. So obviously, it can refer to the capital of Italy, so Rome, right? It can be the acronym for random access memory, ROM, okay? It can be a form, inflected form for the verb like to cast or to throw. It is also another acronym, okay, for mathematical modeling, Rho Z modeling. And another possible interpretation is the alcoholic beverage rum. Okay, so this is another ambiguity, another challenge that actually arises from the Persian language and its writing system. And finally, the next challenge is related to the text directionality. Okay, as we know, the letters are written from right to left in Persian. However, numbers are written in the opposite direction. Okay, from left to right. And it doesn't matter whether it's the Persian numerals or users are actually using the Arabic numerals. It's always the other way around. So text bidirectionality is another challenge, another thing that needs to be taken into account when attempting natural language processing with Persian texts. Next challenging issue is the boundaries between words and or phrases. Okay, as I've already mentioned, in Persian, as in many other languages, white space designates the word boundary. However, in Persian, apart from the standard white space, there is also zero-width non-joiner space, popularly known as pseudospace. And this one is used with these non-joiner letter forms. In fact, the white space and pseudospace might be used inconsistently, which can cause, as you can probably imagine, inconsistency when it comes to tokenization and segmentation. Furthermore, Persian letters have different forms depending on the position in a word, and therefore, users often treat these non-joiner forms incorrectly, and they do not really add white space after them. Okay, you can see the example here. And as a result, this phrase might be processed as one lexeme instead of 4 separate ones, right? So this is the way how it should be written properly, okay, according to, let's say, all the orthographical and grammatical rules. This is how people sometimes use it. On the other hand, white space might often be used instead of pseudospace, which can cause multi-word expressions. We're also going to talk about them, such as the Zabon Shinosi, so linguistic, to be processed as 2 separate words instead of one. Inconsistent use of white and pseudospace is directly related to complex tokens, which consist of a lemma and attached affixes that represent a different lexical or morphological category from the one they are attached to. In this slide, in the table, you can see different examples of affixes that might be used and the different ways how they actually model the basic lemma when they are attached, when we use pseudospace, or when white space is used. As a result of this inconsistent use, words and phrase boundaries are often unclear, which lead to problems with tokenization, phrase segmentation, and call splitting. And the important part to take from it is that tokenization and phrase segmentation are one of the basic blocks of natural language processing pipeline. So as you might remember from the first lecture, these are the basics for the for any further steps in our downstream NLP task. Okay, so these steps really need to be carried out in a correct way in order not to have negative influence on our further results. Ambiguity. So this is also related to what we've been talking about last time. So in general, ambiguity is one of the biggest challenge for NLP in general, okay, regardless of the Persian language, okay. However, this task is particularly difficult in case of Persian because the number of heterographic homographs is so high, okay? So a heterographic homograph is a word with identical identically written form, but a different pronunciation, okay? And the reason why the number of heterographic homographs is so high in Persian is the fact that short vowels are usually not written, okay? We already saw it with the case of like Rome or random access memory, the example I was giving when it comes to named entity recognition and acronyms. Here we have another example, okay? That particular lemma can be interpreted in at least the following 4 forms, which makes it very difficult for certain NLP tasks. Okay, the SFA construction. So I don't really think I need to explain what it is. I mean, for people speaking Persian as native speakers, as you guys are, I don't have to actually explain it. Just maybe one hint that SFA construction is expressed again by a short vowel, and since short vowels are not usually written, it can contribute to ambiguity, and especially in chunking and syntactic and semantic processing of a sentence, okay? We have this example here, which can be interpreted in 2 different, like completely different ways, okay? So either it's Pedar Hasan Rodit or Pedar Hasan Rodit. So this actually changes the semantic and syntactic meaning of that sentence. And finally, the spoken language, okay? A comprehensive computational linguistic system, an NLP pipeline, okay, should be able to process and analyze all major variants of the language, okay? Which means it should be able to deal with both spoken and dialectical variants. In Persian, the diglossia is very strong, okay? Some of the main differences between spoken and written forms include differences in word formation, phonological alternations, and a large number of neologism and loan words. That's why a comprehensive NLP system should also address these problems. If you take into consideration only written, part of the language, the diglossia, of course, is not going to be so huge. Okay, I believe that would be the very first part. So we discussed the different challenges, the basic challenges of the Persian language when we want to process it in a natural language pipeline. Now let's talk about normalization, okay? As you also might remember from the previous lecture, normalization is crucial in natural language processing to ensure consistency and comparability across texts by converting different forms of words to their base or root form, okay? It generally helps in reducing the vocabulary size and improving the accuracy of models by treating words with similar meanings as identical entities. Additionally, normalization aids in enhancing the efficiency of text processing tasks such as tokenization, stemming, and lemmatization. So all the things we've been talking as well. Okay. Research on normalizing Persian text focused mainly on addressing the specific challenges we've been talking about. This resulted in a number of pre-processing tools, okay? In 2010, Shamspat and colleagues proposed step 1, which provides tokenization, morphological analysis, part-of-speech tagging, and spell checking. The Parsi PERDAS toolkit, which apart from providing the same pre-processing steps as the one I mentioned already, also included an additional normalization step, okay? The first open source, pre-processing tool, HASM, was introduced in 2014. In 2018, another open source tool, Parsivar, was presented by Mohtaj and colleagues. Finally, in 2021, Parsi Norm, a tool for speech, but also text normalization, was proposed. Apart from the work on pre-processing tools, research in Persian normalization focused also on classification tree and support vector machine, anagram language model combined with the rule-based model, or sequence label models. And if you are interested in actually getting more information how these different experiments were conducted, I would really encourage you to see these papers. They are really good. I can also give you links to them. Just send me an email after the lecture. And now we're going to analyze and see the importance of text normalization on one of the natural language processing downstream tasks. And that task is multi-word expressions discovery. Okay. Maybe I will ask a quick question. Do all of you know what multi-word expressions are? Or is it like maybe just give me an information if it's like rather new, rather new term for you? Is that? Okay, all good. I think it's always this, that I don't know, it's my impression also as a linguist, and as a researcher, that you're always analyzing other languages than your own. I have the same problems with Polish, so no worries about it. Maybe that's why me being Polish. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so okay, good. So imagine language as a captivating puzzle, okay, where individual words are like pieces, each with its own unique shape and meaning. Now we can picture multi-word expressions as combinations of these linguistic puzzle pieces, okay, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. These expressions, spanning from idioms and collocations, phrasal verbs, and compound words, they add layers of richness and complexity to our communication, and they paint very vivid picture, of different meanings, and they actually transcend the boundaries of single words. Some people say that multi-word expressions are the secret ingredients that infuse flavor into our conversation and stories, because they somehow unlock the word of depth in language that captivates both the linguist and the curious observer. The very sub part of this I'm sorry, of this phrase, a tough nut to crack. Tough nut to crack is a multi-word itself, okay? So they really span over a number of different linguistic types in language. Multi-word expressions are very frequent in language, as I already said, and they range over several different linguistic constructions. From idioms like kick the bucket to fixed expressions like fish and chips, light verb constructions like give a demo, or noun compounds like traffic light. The most popular definition, and there are really many definitions, of multi-word expressions states that they are linguistic expressions which consist of at least two words and are syntactically and or semantically idiosyncratic, okay? There have been many studies related to multi-word expressions, okay? And a lot of researchers estimated or tried to actually estimate the numbers in the language, okay? So Biber and colleagues claim that the number of multi-word expressions in spoken English is between 30 to 45% and 21% in academic prose. Jack and Duff, on the other hand, suggests that the number of multi-word expressions in a speaker's lexicon is actually the same as words. Yet, if we consider the domain-specific lexicons, this number seems to be really underestimation. And indeed, the research conducted by, for instance, Ramesh suggests that the multi-word expressions the ratio of them in language can vary between 50 and 80%, okay, in a corpus of scientific biomedical abstract. And the research by Krieger and Finanto estimates that they can constitute up to 70% of the specialized lexicon. So as you can see, multi-word expressions are really, really, really frequent in language. So why they are important? Well, first of all, because they are so frequent, right? Because they are frequent, they really confer naturalness to our system output. So that's why it is important also to address them in our NLP pipeline, okay? They are also language dependent and culturally motivated. Different idioms, different proverbs are really, really language specific. And finally, a lot of important information can be lost, okay, if we do not treat multi-word expressions properly in our pipeline. Indeed, there have been also some studies carried out for how many errors do they account, okay, in different downstream tasks. So they account for more or less 8% of total parsing errors, okay? That was the study that Baldwin and his colleagues did on the British National Corpus. And when it comes to the sentiment analysis, the drop in precision for not really treating multi-word expressions correctly was between 9 and 24. So that's actually really, really huge drop. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me guys now? Sorry, what was the last thing that you heard? Okay. Yeah, sorry. So I will start from this slide. Thank you for noticing and letting me know. No. I would announce it if that would be necessary. Thank you. So we are going to talk now about the impact of normalization of multi-word expressions and one task in particular, which is the discovery of them. Okay. I think there is a question, right? Someone raised their hand.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, before you keep going with the next part of the presentation, I just have this question. I can't stop thinking about it ever since you mentioned it. You said that there are no capital letters in Persian. In what sense? Because I keep thinking that there are, and when we were taught how to write, we were introduced to these capital and small letters. So I just want to know what sense.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So maybe I was not precise enough. So there are, of course, capital letters, but not in the sense, for instance, in English or Spanish, where by capital letter you can really do the named entity recognition, right? So when you can take this example we had there, let me just go back to the slide maybe quickly. Okay, here, right? This R actually is not capital in this sense, right?
Yeah, well, not with all the letters, but for example, with the first one, all.
Yes, yes, of course.
You found that.
Yes, I know what you mean. I should have been more clear here. Of course, there are certain capital letters in Persian, but not all letters can be capitalized in the sense we have it, for instance, in English, right? Because in English we can have R as a capital and R as a small letter, and they do look different orthographically, and that helps us with named entity recognition. Yes, you are totally right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, goody. So I was here. And multi-word expressions, yes. Okay, and the discovery. Okay, so the processing of multi-word expressions consists of two tasks. The first one is identification, and the second one is the discovery. Multi-word expression identification focuses on tagging a corpus with the actual multi-word expression, so the ones that we already know, okay? In Persian, the research on multi-word expressions has mainly focused so far on the identification task, okay? And in particular, the identification of verbal multi-word units and light verb constructions, because they are very, very frequent in Persian, okay? There's been a number of studies done by really distinguished academics on that. So you will get the references in when you write me an email when you need the references for that lecture today. And what we are going to focus on today is the second task, multi-word expression discovery. So this is a process that focuses on finding new multi-word expressions, okay, in a text, so in a corpus, and storing them, for instance, in the form of a lexicon for further usage. So it starts with a text that's taken as an input, okay, and it generates a list of multi-word expression candidates from it, okay? These candidates can be further filtered and evaluated, for instance, by trained experts or another system, and then the true multi-word expressions can be stored in a repository or added to a specific lexicon. And what I'm going to talk to you about is the experiment I conducted some time ago, okay? It was the experiment that its main purpose was to discover multi-word expressions in Persian, okay, for a specific number of words. I'm not going to go into the specifics, so which different multi-word expressions were discovered, because that it would take like too long for this lecture, okay? And that really, it's not really fitting to the topic, but I want to use this example, this experiment, to show you how important the normalization is, okay, of the Persian text to achieve the results. The corpus I used for my study was Nira's text, okay? Back then, it was one of the largest available Persian corpora. It is an automatically generated text corpus for Persian. It consists of 2.8 million documents and over 1.4 billion tokens, okay? Each data point in the corpus is provided with the following information, so the content, the summary, certain keywords, title, website, and the URI. The content of the Nira's text corpus was generated from 250 web pages that were selected from a wide range of fields to ensure the diversity of the data. And this you can see here in the graph, okay? So we have the data coming from news, economy, technology, sport, entertainment, or science. Corpus content was generated through crawling. Therefore, there is a possibility that this corpus includes duplicated text. That's why, in order to remove the duplicated content from the corpus, its author, so Sabati and colleagues, used a filtering process based on a Bloom filter. Okay, to ensure that the best at that time, of course, normalization tool is used for my task, for the discovery of multi-word expressions. Firstly, I researched which of the open source pre-processing tools, okay, can give me the best results, okay? So I carried out the research comparing 3 pre-processing tools. These tools were Hasm, Parsevar, and Parsenorm. In order to evaluate them, a small corpus of 5,000 sentences was annotated by 3 Persian linguistic experts with respect to tokenization. Okay, the inter-annotator agreement, so the metric that you use in order to see what is the coherence and cohesion between your annotators, was calculated with Fleiss kappa. And the inter-annotator agreement that the annotators achieved was 96%, which indicates that almost perfect agreement was achieved. And in the table here, you can see the comparison of the different normalization steps these 3 tools provide, okay? So whether they provide the normalization of numbers, punctuation, date, space correction, also conversion from end to Pinglish, encoding unification, normalization of symbols, removal of repeated punctuation, or the conversion from formal to informal language. And now to some results. So this table presents the results for the tokenization for the small corpus of 5,000 sentences, okay? We have 2 rows, 2 per pre-processing tool. Okay, one includes the information for the tokenization when the corpus was not normalized, and the other when it was normalized with the tool. Okay, so as we can see, the best results were obtained with Parsevar. Pre-processing tool, okay, 98% of F-score, and that's 99% precision and 98 recall, which is really high, really cool. But if we compare it with the normalized version for Hasm and Parsenorm, the differences actually are not so high, okay? Just 1% or 0.5% actually. The what is important here, however, and what I really would like you to pay attention to is that the difference between raw and normalized corpus differs significantly in all cases. Okay, no matter which tool you choose, the tokenizer performance was in all cases higher. 20% higher, okay, in case of normalized data. So we can see 72% not normalized, 97% normalized. And this is actually very important. This is the first indication how normalization is important. And we are talking about one of the first steps, the tokenization, okay? Based on this result, I decided to choose Parsevar, okay, because it achieved the best results. And another indication was also a study conducted by Muhtai and colleagues, which also showed the superior performance of Parsevar, at least over Hasm, okay, in the experiments they did for the Persian plagiarism detection. Okay. What is the significant difference or advantage of Parsevar over the others seems to be its space correction. Okay, so Parsevar is using 2 different approaches to correct spaces. One is rule-based, okay, and the other is learning-based space correction. And here they use the naive Bayes model to find word boundaries. And what is important, when the biggest corpus was actually normalized with that, you can see the difference in the number of sentences and the tokens, okay? This is actually really, really huge. As actually it's more than 1 million in certain cases. So that really, really can influence your downstream NLP task. Okay, so since the nearest text corpus was obtained via crawling, it seemed to me that certain cleaning steps needs to be actually put in order first. So the initial corpus analysis showed that there is a certain number of articles that contain incomplete content, the so-called clipped content. So such articles were excluded from the final corpus used in the study. As for the discovery of multi-word expressions, it was important for me to provide the whole context. As the next steps, 50 million tokens corpus for the discovery was sampled. And as I already mentioned, the best tool for the pre-processing in my experiment turned out to be Persivar, so I normalized this corpus with the Persivar tool. The assumption that multi-word expressions stand out, which means that they exhibit some sort of salience, allow us to extract or discover them automatically from texts. This salience is also why especially statistical procedures such as association measures are so popular. In order to extract Persian multi-word expressions, a list of 20 lemmas that would serve as initial seeds was prepared. For every lemma, its bigrams and trigrams were extracted separately from the raw and normalized corpus using the following association methods, okay? So point mutual information, log likelihood, t-score, and chi-square test. These specific association measures were chosen since they are the most popular ones used for the discovery of multi-word expressions. For each association measure, its top bigrams and with its top 100 bigrams and trigrams per lemma were extracted. And this resulted in 1,487 unique multi-word expression candidates from the normalized corpus and a little bit more from the raw one, because 1,817. All the annotators, that were checking the candidates were working on both sets. The annotator agreement results were 87 and 81 for normalized and raw corpus respectively. And now to see the results. So the main objective of the study was to evaluate the impact of text normalization on multi-word expression discovery task in Persian. After evaluating the candidates, the number of true multi-word expressions in a normalized corpus was 389 and only 154 in the raw corpus. This figure here shows the performance of the 4 selected association measures when it comes to the discovery of true multi-word expressions. And as can be seen, each association measure performs better when it's used with the normalized data. This is the blue blocks here. The highest number of multi-word expressions were extracted with the t-score, followed closely by log likelihood, and of course the results were performed on the normalized corpus. So I do hope that this really shows that the normalization step is very important for your downstream natural language processing task, this particular results here. Okay, And since different normalization steps would fit different data and different downstream NLP tasks, it was interesting also for me to analyze the impact of the particular normalization steps on the multi-word expression discovery task. And this table presents the various combination metrics, okay? So we have the metrics for the not normalized text. The F-score was just 15%. Then we added the encoding unification. It grew to 90%. When we added the date unification, we got 24. When we added space correction, okay, the results actually skyrocketed to 41%, which is actually a huge spike. Yeah, and indeed, it turned out that the most efficient combination of normalization steps for this particular task is the unification of encodings and dates combined with space correction. And in fact, correcting and unifying spaces proved to be the most crucial normalization step for this task. And I actually do believe, and I know it from other experiments, that this is one of the most important aspects of normalizing Persian text for NLP. Okay, before I move to the second part, so the second challenge, are there any questions or suggestions to this part? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, everything is clear. Yeah, I think we cleared it. Yeah, but thank you for the question. Okay. Okay, then in that
Sorry, I
case,
do have a question, if it's possible.
yep. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, you were explaining about that, the tools that you use for pre-processing your data.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know how functional that was for your research, because when I wanted to upload my corpus into, well, I use Langsbox, and I had so much difficulty processing my data. And before that, much of the things I did was, kind of checking the pre-processing phase manually to make sure that, because it very much affects word counts and therefore messes up with your results.
I know.
Yeah, it was very challenging. I wanted to know how you made sure that it was effective. I mean, the pre-processing tools you used were kind of, effective. I'd appreciate if you explain that. Yeah.
Of course. So I need to say that I was struggling in the beginning as well. Okay, in my first attempt to experiment with Persian and NLP, I also faced many challenges, especially because the tools I was using back then were not designed for Persian. Okay. And because of the challenges we've been talking about today, Persian is a very specific, okay? I mean, every language is specific, but Persian being also language with different directionality than most of the tools that are designed for, like English or, I don't know, Spanish, right? German, it poses certain difficulties. To make sure that these pre-processing tools I'm using are actually working, that's why I use the help of some colleagues, like Persian native speakers, who are evaluating. Okay, that's why I did this small experiment. for the tokenization to see which of the tool is actually performing the best. Okay, that's why when I set up the experiment, I run the whole pipeline for the tokenization for these different three pre-processing tools. Then the output was checked, was verified against the annotations of the linguistic experts. Okay, and based on that, I made sure that okay, this is actually working fine. Is it like is it answering your question?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Yes. And
You're welcome.
do you feel the need that these tools need to be updated or upgraded after using them?
There is always room for improvement everywhere. But the results I got from them and for my purposes, like Parsivar was performing really well. I didn't have any suggestions back then. Okay, I just a quick reminder, it was 2-3 years ago, so I'm not really sure how it would perform now. Also, I use it for a specific task, multi-word expression discovery, right? Maybe if I was conducting a different experiment, maybe I would need or I would have some suggestions. Okay, but back then I was very happy to find something that normalizes Persian so much that it helps and improves my results. So I think I was very optimistic.
I see. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Kimia. There is a question also from Arazu. Multi-word expression include compound verbs too? Yes, indeed, they do. And there's actually a huge literature on the identification of multi-word expressions like the compound verbs in Persian. So if you want me, just please send me an email, or I will share the references either with Merzad or Armita after the lecture, because there is actually huge research done in the identification of the compound verbs in Persian. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So if this is clear, let's go to the second challenge. Okay, so lack of resources. Okay, so guys, we covered in the first lecture the basis of the NLP. Okay, we know all the particular components. We more or less know how to combine it into a functional NLP pipeline. Okay, we discussed the peculiarities or the challenges of the Persian language. Okay, and actually, before I move forward, something that maybe I should have said in the very beginning, these challenges that Persian language poses for NLP. If you want to work, or if you are already working with Persian text, please don't think about them as obstacles or limitations, okay? Think about them as challenges, okay? Persian language is so beautiful. It covers so many interesting structures, okay? And semantic meanings. It is ambiguous, yes, but this is also the beauty of a language, okay? And being a linguist and also NLP researcher, this is something that also drives the advancement in the field further, okay? Compared to English, Persian language in certain aspects is way more complex, okay? But it doesn't mean we need to treat it as an obstacle. We need to treat it as a challenge, okay? Something we want to overcome. So first of all, we need to understand it. We need to understand what are the problems, the pinpoints, and we want to find ways to overcome them, okay? To tackle them. So because I didn't want to sound that, okay, this is like a big problem. It is a challenge, okay? All the things I've been talking about, they are challenges, okay? But they are actually driving the development of the field forward, okay? So I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, so the second challenge, lack of resources, okay? So we already know what we want to do, okay? We have our pipeline more or less set up. We want to do our experiment, but now here comes the problem. We need the resources, we need data, we need training data, okay? And this is always a problem, okay? Where to get the data from, what kind of annotation, how much, how many experts should work on that, all these problems. The problem with Persian, okay, being a language, one of the most popular language of the web, okay, it's, I think, this year 4th or 5th language, like most frequently used language of the web, is that despite this huge amount of data in Persian language, okay, there are not so many resources, okay, that can be used for NLP, okay. Of course, in the recent years, this landscape has been changing for the better, okay. There are more and more resources, I'm sorry, available for Persian, but still, despite that, the Persian is considered low resource language, okay? Here in this slide, you have a few examples of the resources available. Of course, there are way more. What I want you to point to especially is the very recent developments, okay? So we have the Persian Llama, so like the LLM, okay? We also have the ParseBird, very good resource. We have a Persian Mind, okay? This I haven't checked myself yet. I haven't put my fingers on it, but I'm going to, but this is like very, very recent. So this landscape is developing for the better, of course, but still there is a need to have data. And I can imagine that when you are a student or a researcher and you want to carry out a small study, small experiment just for yourself, and your experiment or the topic or the field or the data is very specific, you may not really have the data available in one of the sources, okay? So what you are actually facing is the problem of the lack of the data, okay? And we can overcome it, okay? Of course, we can prepare the data ourselves, so like collect the data, annotate the data, clean it, and so on and so forth. But it takes time and effort, right? So I was thinking about presenting you I think a very neat way, okay, very easy way, how you can get data for your task in a very fast way, okay? And for that, I prepared a very, very small experiment with ChatGPT, okay? It's GPT-3. Since GPT is not always working, okay, I decided actually to record it yesterday. So I'm going to play this to you because it's not always working. So what I'm going to ask, okay, this is the thing. So this is my prompt, okay? This is what I'm asking GPT-3. I need training data for named entity recognition task. Please provide me 10 sentences in the Persian language that would contain examples of the following named entity types: company, person, country, money, product, and date. And okay, yeah, now it's gonna think. I mean, it's a video, I cannot, I don't want to interfere. And there we have it, okay? Very quickly, as you can see, you can get sentences in Persian, and you can also get the hints, okay, what should be annotated as a particular named entity. Okay, so this is it. And here I'm just showing you an example of 10 sentences, but you can get as much data as you want. Of course, there are some limitations, especially to GPT-3, okay, and the let's say not upgraded version usage. But there is a start, okay. You can actually very easily collect such data, but these are just sentences. This is the first part, the easy, right? Collecting data. Actually, you could do it also with crawling. The most problematic part is getting the annotations in the formats you need and you want for your experiment, for your algorithm actually to train the data on. So then it's going to show very soon. Then I provided GPT-3 with a second prompt, okay? Okay, now I'd like to annotate the sentences for the named entity recognition task. Please provide the annotations of all the named entities of these types in the sentences provided below. Please provide the annotations in the following schema. And I provided an example of a schema because this is the schema I am using for my pipeline, right? So it consists of a sentence and then the entities. We provide the surface of the entity, the start, the end, and the type, okay? At the end, there are like some sentences as examples, and then we ask it actually to do it. And voila, as you can see, we are actually obtaining the annotations already done with the start, with an end, with a type, surface, everything is already provided in the JSON output. And this is the output that is actually very useful for the training data. So yeah, this is how you can very easily get the initial data. Of course, it is always very good to check and to verify it, but the verification of the data takes less time than collecting the data, annotating it manually, okay, or semi-automatically, and then again verifying. So we've been using GPT or different LLMs to get our training data and to get this data annotated for some time, and I can really assure you that this is huge oh my god, the not waste of a time, but it's actually gain of a time. It's the opposite, right? It's actually very helpful. And I did a second check. I also, because, you know, you may say that then getting the sentences and the annotations for named entity recognition is quite an easy task, but GPT-3, even, you know, the very basic version, can give you also the syntactic tree of a sentence. Okay, I asked it for the syntactic analysis of the sentence, and this is what I get. Okay, you already get it in an adequate file format, and you also have the explanation. Okay, which I think it's really cool. Yes, and that is a very small exercise, okay, how you can get the data. And I've been showing it on the GPT-3, sorry, on the basic version, but there are way more powerful large language models already, okay? So, of course, there is GPT-4. You can also have the upgraded version, plenty of different LLMs from Hugging Faces, including all the BERT, Roberta, and all that stuff. And yeah, especially for the named entity recognition, okay? If you've been working in that or you want to try it, there is Gleaner. I've recently also have the opportunity to experiment a little bit with this one. This large language model is designed especially for named entity recognition, and it's multilingual. So I need to say the very first experiments I did are very promising. Okay. Yes, so I think that would be it for now. So I tried today to go on a journey with you, okay, through all the different challenges the Persian language faces with its natural language processing application, okay. As I said, the reference for this lecture the whole maybe in mostly I okay, cool. No, I wanted to ask you, so cute. Then I also have a cat. I had to put him on a balcony for the sake of the presentation. But oh. Maybe one more thing, Armita, because with Marizat we talked about 2 lectures on NLP, right? I like the first one, the basic, and then the second one about the challenges for Persian. And because during the first lecture also there were some questions about the knowledge graph, and I'm working with knowledge graph. I proposed maybe at some point I can also give a lecture about knowledge graph, but that it's not really related to NLP. So just to make it clear, but maybe we can clarify it also over email. That's not a problem. Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, Omid, yes, send me an email. I provided the my email here. Just send me an email. And one more time, guys, because I think I forgot to say it also during the first lecture. Thank you very much for having me, because for me, it's a big honor. Okay, I am okay. I'm not a native speaker of Persian, but I spent so much time in my research for Persian because I love this language, and it's a really great opportunity for me to share what I did for Persian. And also, actually, now I realize that maybe I shouldn't go into so many details about the challenges for Persian, because maybe you all know it already because you are native speakers, so you know all this. Okay. Mhm. Okay. I'm very happy. I try, but you know what? I mean, it's been long since I actually was using like Farsi actively, so I'm sorry for any problems here. But we are gonna change it. Yeah.
And I just wanted to thank dear Katarzina because, one of the reasons I came today was, Farsi is one of those languages that is rarely researched on compared to, Western languages. And what I hope is that the work you, as well as other researchers, are doing would benefit us in a way that we could open research to minority languages spoken in Iran.
Oh my God, that would be my dream, like seriously. If you have any like ideas about research or experiment, just contact me, and if I can, I will help, because that's like I do believe that by digitalizing minority languages, okay, we can really I don't know, help them survive from extinction. So that would really be an honor, a dream to me. So yes, definitely fingers crossed, Kimia, for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you very much for all these kind words, but I cannot take it all. It's also my way of, to some extent, paying back to the Persian Iranian community, okay, for all the help I got when I was learning Persian, when I was on my scholarship in Iran. So I got so much from you guys learning Persian that this is my way of saying thank you, and I'm gonna do it till the end of my life. So it's mutual, really. I'm not exaggerating now. It's really mutual. So for me, from the first moment when I heard someone speaking Persian, I was like, oh wow, that sounds so beautiful. I want to learn it. And then I went into, studying Persian, learning Persian as a language, as a foreign language. And I was also doing my studies in NLP, so I combine it, and it flourished, I would say. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.